The old pickup truck coughed and sputtered as it rolled into the gas station, its faded green paint chipped and peeling like the bark of an ancient tree. Sam Whitmore, 80 years old and worn as the vehicle he drove, eased himself out of the driver's seat. His hands trembled, not from fear but from the shrapnel scars that had never fully healed since Vietnam. His knees creaked, his back stooped, and his eyes, though sharp, carried a quiet weight, as if they'd seen too much to ever look away. The gas station was a small, fluorescent-lit outpost on the edge of a sleepy Oregon town, the kind of place where strangers passed through and locals lingered. Sam didn't notice the three bikers leaning against their gleaming motorcycles, their leather jackets emblazoned with skulls and flames. But they noticed him. Their laughter cut through the evening air, sharp and mocking, as Sam shuffled toward the pump. "Hey, old man, that rust bucket gonna make it out of here?" One called, his voice dripping with disdain. Sam didn't respond. He never did. He'd learned long ago that silence was a shield. The bikers closed in, their boots scuffing the pavement. The leader, a broad-shouldered man with a shaved head and a sneer, flicked a cigarette butt toward Sam's truck. Bet you can't even 2B24 even see the faces of the bikers as they surrounded Sam. "What's the matter, Grandpa? Too scared to talk?" The second biker shoved Sam's shoulder, hard enough to make him stumble. Sam caught himself on the pump, his weathered hands gripping the handle. His face remained impassive, but his eyes flickered with something ancient. Grief, resolve, or perhaps both. The third biker laughed, a cruel sound, and kicked the side of Sam's truck, leaving a dent in the door. The few other customers at the station, a teenager scrolling on her phone, a man in a hurry to fill his tank, looked away, unwilling to get involved. Sam pumped his gas, slow and deliberate, as the taunts continued. "You're nothing, old man, just a waste of space." He paid at the pump, climbed back into his truck, and drove off, the bikers' laughter chasing him into the dusk. Back at his small, cluttered house on the edge of town, Sam sat in his armchair, the silence of the evening pressing against him. The walls were lined with faded photographs, young men in jungle fatigues, their smiles defiant against the backdrop of war. A shadow box held a Medal of Honor, its ribbon frayed but the star still gleaming. Few knew it was there. Few ever asked. Sam's fingers traced the scars on his knuckles. Souvenirs from a life of battles most couldn't imagine. The cruelty at the gas station wasn't new. He'd faced it before. Kids throwing bottles at his truck, neighbors whispering about the crazy vet who kept to himself. But tonight, something shifted. Maybe it was the dent in his truck, a vehicle that had carried him through decades. Maybe it was the way the town had turned its back, indifferent to his pain. Or maybe it was the ache in his bones, reminding him time was running out. Sam picked up the phone, his hands steady now, and dialed a number he hadn't called in years. "Whiskey Team 72, he said softly when a gruff voice answered. "It's Sam. I need you." Within 48 hours they came. Whiskey Team 72, a band of brothers forged in the crucible of Vietnam's jungles, arrived in a convoy of trucks and SUVs, their faces lined but their eyes fierce. There was Tommy Hawk Hawkins, the sniper whose aim had saved them countless times. Maria Doc Alvarez, the medic who'd patched them up under fire, and James Preacher Monroe, whose prayers had carried them through the darkest nights. They were in their late 70s and 80s now, some with canes, others with hearing aids, but their presence filled Sam's small living room with a warmth that hadn't been there in years. They listened as Sam recounted the gas station incident, his voice steady but heavy. "I didn't fight back," he said. "Not because I couldn't, because I shouldn't have to." Hawk clenched his fists. Doc's eyes glistened. Preacher nodded solemnly. "We're here now, Sam," Hawk said, "and we're not leaving until this is right." The next morning, the team rolled into town, their vehicles parked in a neat row outside the gas station. Word had spread, small towns talk, and the sight of a dozen grizzled veterans drew curious glances. The bikers were there again, lounging by their bikes, unaware of the storm gathering. Hawk stepped forward, his voice like gravel. "You messed with the wrong man." The lead biker laughed, but it faltered when he saw the others, men and women who carried themselves with the quiet authority of those who'd faced death and won. Sam stood among them, his head high, No longer the frail old man they'd mocked. Doc handed the biker a folded piece of paper, a copy of Sam's Medal of Honor citation. The biker's eyes widened as he read, "For conspicuous gallantry, risked his life to save his unit, single-handedly held off enemy forces." His hands shook. The other bikers crowded around, their bravado crumbling as the truth sank in. Sam wasn't just an old man. He was a hero. The confrontation didn't end in violence. It didn't need to. The bikers, faced with the weight of Sam's past and the unyielding presence of Whiskey Team 72, backed down. The leader, his voice cracking, stammered an apology. "We didn't know, man. We're sorry." Sam looked at him, his gaze steady but not unkind. "You didn't ask," he said. "Next time, ask." The crowd that had gathered, locals, shopkeepers, even the teenager from the night before, watched in the stunned silence. Whispers spread. Medal of Honor? That's Sam Whitmore? The indifference that had once cloaked the town began to crack. The transformation was swift. The town council, shamed by their own neglect, organized a ceremony in the park that weekend. Veterans from across the county were invited, but Sam was the centerpiece. A stage was set up, draped in red, white, and blue. The mayor, who'd never spoken to Sam before, gave a speech about sacrifice and community. Whiskey Team 72 stood behind Sam, their faces proud but somber. When Sam took the microphone, the crowd hushed. "I didn't fight for medals," he said, his voice clear despite his age. "I fought for my brothers and sisters. For you. All I ask is that you see us, not just me, but every vet, every person carrying a burden you can't see. Respect costs nothing." The applause was deafening, but Sam didn't smile. He didn't need to. His words had landed. The bikers were there too, no longer in leather but in plain clothes, their heads bowed. After the ceremony, they approached Sam, offering to fix his truck and start a fundraiser for veteran support. "We were wrong," the leader said. "We want to make it right." Sam shook their hands, his grip firm. "You're doing it now," he replied. The town didn't stop there. A committee formed to build a monument in the park, a simple stone etched with the names of local veterans, living and gone. Sam's name was at the top, but he insisted it honor everyone. "No one fights alone," he said. In the weeks that followed, Sam's life changed. Neighbors stopped by with casseroles and stories of their own. Kids asked to hear about Vietnam, and he told them, not of glory, but of courage and loss. Whiskey Team 72 stayed for a month, their laughter filling his house each night. When they left, they promised to return. "You call, we come," Hawk said, hugging Sam tightly. The town, once blind, now saw. They saw Sam, the veterans in their midst, the elderly, the quiet ones carrying unseen scars, and they vowed to do better. Sam still drove his old truck, the dent now a badge of resilience. He still pumped his gas, but now people waved, smiled, asked how he was. He'd nod, his eyes soft but steady. The Medal of Honor stayed in its shadow box, but Sam's true valor shone in his silence, his strength, his forgiveness. He'd fought for a world where respect was universal, and in his small corner of Oregon, that world was taking root. One evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, Sam sat on his porch, a cup of coffee in hand. He looked at the stars, the same ones he'd seen in Vietnam, and whispered, "We did good." The night was quiet, but it carried a warmth that hadn't been there before, a promise that kindness, once kindled, could light the way for generations.